right. Thank you to Jeff for congratulating us on reaching 200 episodes.
Oh my God.
That is insane.
200 like legit episodes, not including other things.
Right. So we're probably closer to like 215, 216. And that's just, that's the stuff. Yeah, that's like you and I stuff. All right. What is happening here? Let me got to go over to my notes. But yeah, this is the Illustrious Gentlemen. This is episode 200. This is going to be a listener question, or listener question episode. There's a better way to say that, but one of the podcasts I watch and listen to regularly, they do all questions considered. So I want to say that, but then I'm just stealing their lingo, and I don't want to be a lingo stealer. So as we get into episode 200, we know that for those that have been following along, I've been doing this blind beer challenge, and so the finals are tonight. So if everyone's ready. All right, the finals tonight is Bud Light, the overall number one ranked, started ranked number one, went all the way through the tournament as a high ranked seed against the original number 12 seed Pacifico, which also ran rampant through the rank. I mean, it just demolished everyone that was,
Pacifico.
Yeah, everyone in its way, just crushing shit left and right.
Story.
That's right. So we have Pacifico Cerveza Clara, better known as Pacifico, 4.5%. It's a Mexican Pilsner style beer. Cerveza Pacifico is named so because the Pacifico Brewery is located in the Pacific Ocean port city of Mazatlan in the state of Sinaloa, Mexico. It was first brewed in 1900 when three Germans, Jorge Clausen, German Evers, and Emilio Filippi, opened a brewery.
The German's name was German?
Yeah. Cerveceria del Pacifico in Mazatlan. None of those Germans, they all have Hispanic names. So
1900.
Yeah, so it's been around for a while, and it's up against Bud Light, which was introduced.
So there's no way they could be Nazis in hiding if it was 1900.
No, not unless they have a DeLorean. And then it goes up against Bud Light, introduced in 1982 as Budweiser Light and known exclusively as Bud Light by late 1984. It's Budweiser's flagship light beer with 4.2%. I don't need to go on with that. John Berger's chiming in with Let's Go Pacifico. I'm with you, John. So I'm going to sip on these throughout the course of the show, and then whenever I finish these 2 pints, I will pull out the sheet of paper and let everyone know who's the winner is. Now that I'm down to just 2, I think I'll be able to tell the difference between the 2 of them. But I don't know. I don't have tacos. I'm not eating tacos while I'm drinking the Pacifico. That's really its advantage. That's its superpower. Like that's the
right.
That's the Jan and whatever the other Wonder Twin are when they're together. That's tacos. Jan and Zan. And I'm also sipping on a Bear Republic Racer 5 IPA because they were on sale at the Chevron.
Where the fuck Zan came from? I want to call her Jan, but what's like that?
Yeah. Okay.
My cousin's name is Zan. We could just call him Zan.
All right. So let's just get into the questions, since hopefully maybe if anyone's watching, they can throw questions in and we'll try to get to those as well. Do you have I don't know if you have the notes in front of you. Okay, cool. Maybe we'll ping pong. Maybe I'll read Russ's questions and then you can read the next person's questions.
Sure.
So yeah, it's our bicentennial. Congratulations, Scott. It's crazy.
It's too long.
At this rate, by the time we hit 400, I'll be almost 50. So if we're still around at episode 400, I'll be almost 50.
It's like if they kept making new Coke. It's like nobody wants it, but we're just gonna keep putting it out there.
We're doing it. It's a time capsule to myself. It's really one of the it's an insanely selfish thing that I tell my kids once a week to be quiet for 2 hours because it's important that I record a podcast. I turn off my phone so no one can bother me, so that when I'm 80, I can listen to these and just be like, what a handsome sounding young man that Scott was. I wonder whatever.
I'm scared to talk to you. That's all.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to that guy. Once he started getting huge in the business, he stopped returning my texts. And then I'll do a voice. I'll get a voice changer, and I'll still do the podcast. and with you as like a computerized voice. Okay, questions from Russell McDowell, Big Russ MD. Nick D asks, what are your dream projects, or what are our dream projects? Great question, Russ. Great question. Hope you're staying warm
Russ.
there. Hope you're staying warm there in Austin, Texas. A little bit of a cold snap there.
Really, Dan Rather says it's cold.
Well, he's old, so it's cold all the time.
It's always cold. Yeah,
right.
I hope Dan has a blanket.
Yeah, hope so. Maybe all those years. Maybe ABC once for Christmas gave him a blanket. Didn't you get a DC blanket once?
I do have a DC blanket.
Right, so I'm sure ABC television gave him a blanket at some point.
Yeah, so I got the DC blanket I've got. It's great. It's a little small for a grown man, but it's got the new DC logo on it, which I love. And the year prior, they had sent me a hat which has the horrible DC logo that they had for like a year and a half. No,
right.
It's like the D that's peeling off, and it's got the C behind it.
Oh, scratch and sniff logo.
It's terrible.
All right, Scott, what is a dream project of yours?
Dream project. Obviously, Azrael is a bucket list book.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we want to keep this to just comic stuff? I mean,
I guess
I would like to write a screenplay at some point.
Sure.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I only considered it as comics, but obviously my dream projects would not involve comics, probably.
Right.
Realistically. Yes, Azrael, I saw today on Bleeding Cool that I guess some well-known people are trying to buy DC. The article called them well-funded fans, but I guess that might mean like a Ryan Reynolds
fans.
Maybe it means
Zack
like a Ryan
Snyder's trying to buy DC.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe Hollywood people are trying to buy DC, but then so they're kind of saying like it's up for sale. So then everyone's like, all these people on Twitter are like, oh, I just want to buy Legion of Superheroes, or I just want to buy whatever. So I almost tweeted out, someone buy Azrael and put you, Sean, and me on it. Yeah. And let's make tens of dollars.
Yeah. Just titles a la carte.
Yeah. Well, apparently, according to that article, and I don't know how trustworthy Bleeding Cool is, earlier in the year, it was widely known that DC was willing to like sublease books out to like IDW, Marvel, like publish our comics for us, but I guess they wanted too much money. I don't know.
That's weird. I'm thinking now, I'm imagining like it's a name a star thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like for my kid's next birthday, I could buy him Blue Devil. He could just own the trademark on Blue Devil.
Yeah, because you don't love him, so you're going to get him Blue Devil.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And then in 30 years, Rico Renzi will try to buy the trademark off of him, and maybe he'll be able to buy a Honda Accord.
You just hold on to it. It's like a savings bond.
Right. Yeah, it vests after 20 years. Okay, anything other than Azrael?
I would still probably like to do Exo Man of War at some point. That seems like a fun property. I think the stipulation being that I probably also have to write it because I don't want to do any boring corporate businessman stuff.
Right. You want Space Barbarian Eric in the XO armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? Maybe you should slide into Dennis Hallam's DMs and throw yourself up as an artist for an arc. I think he writes it. Yeah.
I put a portfolio together for their thing last year, mid-December, mid-November, whatever. They had a talent search, something or other. I never got an email back.
Wow. I wonder why they hate you.
I don't know. That's the second one I've sent. I got an email back on the first one. Just saying, hey, that's cool.
Yeah, I think every time they open up solicitations for work, I always send them a coloring portfolio and nothing. Nothing ever comes from it, but there would be a lot of books in Valiant's lineup that I would like to, get a shot at. So for me, I wrote writing and coloring, a create your own book with like a bucket list type artist.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe even co-writing. I really don't know if I'm cut out to be a writer. I mean, it seems easy, but then lots of things seem easy. Like I thought by now I'd be doing kickflips and shit. Yeah. By now I thought I could juggle and kickflip at the same time. And the other day I tried to do like a little power slide and I concussed myself. So kickflips are on the back burner for now. And then selfishly, big two, I'd like to do work in any capacity on an X-Men or a Cable book. Those are just bucket lists, like I would love to draw like an X-Men, especially like an Outback X-Men book. Like if you could go back to that time, really scratch that itch of 15-year-old me. So yeah, there we go. All right. So next, Russ asked us about something I bet neither of us have any opinion on. He would like to know what we would do, what we predict or want to see for the next variant cover trend, which were dumbest. And, and then he said, like, you've had hollow foil, you've had Deadpool one, like everything with Deadpool, action figure packaging ones, like pictures of blister packs as the variant cover. Do you have any thoughts on this? Do you care about variant covers?
I don't care about them. I'm ignorant as to what they have been. I hate Deadpool, so I would vote thumbs down on the Deadpool one. But no, I don't know. People seem to like them because they keep making them. So, but I don't pay attention. I have no opinion. Sorry, Russ. Yeah.
Right. So I've never been a variant cover guy. It's always like silly and kind of a waste of money. Like who the fuck? I mean, comics aren't 75 cents anymore. Who wants to pay $8 to have two versions of a 20-page comic? It seems silly to me. But I'm also not buying to collect, so I'm super cheap. I would never, and but I will at my local at Cab Comics. Variants for the most part, unless they're super rare variants, are always cover price. So I will pick up a variant. I'll pick up whatever cover I like better, whatever artist I like better. Sometimes it's the variant, sometimes it's not. I don't go out of my way to get the variant, but normally the variant has like a different artist or something. So I guess I do buy variants, but not like special variants.
Yeah. I like sketch covers. They make me money sometimes.
Yeah, like sketch covers are cool because you can take a shot on a book, and then if it sucks, you could sell it. But speaking of like a mix of a variant cover and a sketch cover, I thought it'd be cool to see like penciled covers or process covers. So maybe it slowly fades to color. So you have like layouts, pencils, no? Or maybe just a penciled cover with the layouts underneath. You could see like a blue line layouts with a pencil cover. That'd be cool if it's like an Art Adams or Nick Bradshaw or like
you could
Ryan
do
Otley.
like they did Marvels. You could have the cellophane cover of the inks over the top of the cardstock cover of the pencils.
I don't remember that. Oh, like so you'd flip it like an animation cell?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. I've never seen that. Every time I think of variant covers, I think of the Bloodshot with the gold foil, and it was literally like glued to the cover, like a blank cover. Don't you remember the Valiant gold foil covers back in the day? Ninjak had one, Bloodshot, but it was like smaller. It was like a 5x7 image on a comic book cover, and you could actually, if you wanted, you could peel it off.
No,
you'd ruin your comic.
That reminds me of the month that they did like X-Men 25 and Wolverine 75. All of them had the trading card sized hologram glued onto the cover. What? Oh, there we go.
Having a tough time here. But because they're both absolutely delicious.
And I think like Spectacular Spider-Man 200 had the spider armor in a hologram, and I think it was all chrome because it was spider armor or some shit.
Right. But they did have what do they call them, venticular covers?
Oh, that
you turn it
right.
Yeah, that move. Yeah. No,
I would like Ghost Rider 15, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was the giant Mark Teixeira Ghost Rider head.
Just the head.
Okay, that is kind of cool, but I think that was just the cover for that.
Yeah, those
comic.
aren't variant covers.
Right.
Yeah, those are just gimmick covers. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I guess my last thought on variant covers are. I'd only buy them if it's cover price, and it would be the only one I buy. I would never buy. Like sometimes I do buy, like let's say a new comic comes out that I like and I pick it up. Corey will be like, "Oh, do you want to get a sketch cover version of it as well?" And I'll be like, "No, I don't want two versions of the comic. So let me get the sketch cover. And if I love it, I'll sell the sketch cover. I'll do a sketch and sell it. And then I'll come back and I'll buy, a floppy, or I'll buy the trade." And then finally, Russ would like to know, what are our favorite beers of the first 200 episodes? And I'll go first. This is tough because I stopped doing the beer rating graphic like 50 episodes ago. So I can't just go check like a blog or something to see what I rated. But about 100 episodes ago, we were sponsored by Historic Brewing. Shout out to Historic Brewing. And I do love their Pie Hole Porter. I gave it a 5 on Untapped. It's one of the only 5s I've ever given on Untapped. And then also the Oso Barrel-Aged Morning Grind Imperial Stout that I think you bought for me. And I don't know if I had it on the show, but that was a 5 as well. Those Oso breakfast stouts are fucking great.
I miss it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you? Anything memorable or memorable cocktails or beers?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Yeah, those weird Oso cans. Yeah, there was the s'mores one. I think that was pretty memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 2-pump chump. I remember that being a monster.
Yeah.
I can't think of any beers. There must be some that were 4.5s at some point, but for the life of me, I can't remember what they were. Purple Haze, maybe the Abita. What the Tower Station. Yeah, I think my highest rated thing was the Eagle Rare 10-year bourbon. I think I rated that a 5. I don't think I gave any beers a 5. That doesn't sound like a thing that I would do.
You're a hard man to please, I think. But now that I just said beer 500
Garrett's than Ryan Cody.
Right. Now that I said beer 500 times, are you drinking or no? You don't have a beer tonight?
No, I got coffee.
Okay. Sweet. Someone's working after we're done recording.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here we go. What do you want to ask the JD Smooth questions?
Yeah.
From John Derek West.
Our next handful comes from friend of the show. I guess he's still alive because he sent us questions. John Derek West. He asks, or he would like to know, when we really fell for each other's art styles, as in what we like in each other's work. That's a very JD question. All of these are. They're going to be tough to get through.
Yeah. Well, I know almost exactly when I fell for you, Scott, my Valentine. It was at a drink and draw at Monkey Pants. I don't know how long we had known each other, but you gave me a Hellboy pinup that you drew. So like 09 or something, and I got drunk and I danced. And I think that maybe you were like, oh shit, this guy's a dancer. Like, it's probably a cause for concern. Like, just put him on a watch list somewhere. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
it's look, I sing when I get tipsy. So it's peanut butter and chocolate. I'll just keep the beat and you can dance.
I've never heard you sing. I have seen you stumble. This will come up later in the show too.
You have video of me singing. It's on the Instagram.
Oh, that's right. When you're up in Flagstaff, last year or whatever. That's right. And then art. Well, like I guess more specifically is I was always a fan of your stuff, but sometimes it's hard to know. Like, are you a fan of someone's stuff because you're friends, or would you like their stuff if you weren't friends? And then when you were on Dracula, you hit a stride towards the second half of Dracula that I thought really it was your first big. I've seen you level up several times, and probably around issues 8 or 9 of Dracula, you started cartooning a little more, and I was like, oh shit, he's really like leveling up here. He's gearing up for whatever's next, whatever big thing is next. And it was probably Copperhead after that, but I was like, oh yeah, this guy is a guy I would buy the comic even if I didn't know him. So yeah, whatever. I had bought a couple pages out of that issue. So whichever one, when the Van Helsing family showed up to murder people, whatever issue that was in Dracula.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, but I was like, yeah, this guy's got it.
Yeah, I don't know. I really can't say when. I mean, obviously it was at first sight, but if I had to finger a moment,
Please,
it's probably when I bought the Cara Phantasma cover off of you at whatever fucking Phoenix show that was.
Yeah.
I don't remember what, but it's still the only piece of original art I have framed and hanging up. Yeah.
I thought I was in good company with Doug Menke. I thought you had a Doug Menke page.
He's in a drawer somewhere.
Oh, he gets the drawer. I get the frame.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure it's the other way around, but when you know I'm going to come visit, you pop it out, throw my Cara Phantasma cover in there, pop it back in. All right. So what's JD's next question? Oh yeah, it's flip it around.
JD asks how our love of alcohol really cemented the joy of each other's presence. Not even company. Is this? Did you cut and paste or?
I cut and pasted. I didn't change anything that wasn't kind of like changing a U to our or like pluralizing something is the only stuff I changed. He did say cemented the joy of each other's presence.
Presence. Like Darth Vader has a presence.
Yeah, and apparently you do as well. Yeah, this was kind of a weird question, but long before I loved you, I loved alcohol. So, but I do appreciate the one thing I like about the show, especially when it comes to, again, when I'm 80 and I'm listening to all these back, is I do love drinking socially, and this is kind of like that. It's like once a week we get together and have a drink, and I really do I like that aspect of the podcast. Even if you rarely drink anymore,
right? Yeah,
you're teetotaling on me.
In my old age.
Yeah, I think I liked you better when you were drawing Dracula and Codebreakers, and you didn't stay up late on deadlines, and you just got drunk. Yeah, I don't think alcohol has anything to do with our friendship.
No. And we can have fun without drinking.
Yeah, kids. Sometimes one of my favorite episodes, one of the episodes that always gets brought up is the episode where we didn't drink and we bleeped out all of our curse words. That one is brought up a lot as kind of like a funny podcast.
Editing nightmare, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it does seem, even though I'm doing this stupid beer challenge, it does seem like that aspect of the pod is kind of getting less important. Like I stopped posting the images of the rankings. It's just, I'm not totally against that, just fading into us just sitting around doing the podcast and drinking rather than always talking about what we're drinking. Like, I don't think it's necessary unless it's like, I discovered something special this week and it's this beer. But if I'm just reaching in the cooler for something different every week for the pod, that actually causes me stress. I would rather just have like 5 Miller Lights. All right. And then JD had one last question, Scott. And this one is actually a solid question by John Derek West.
Yeah. So this is what it says here. JD's last request is he wanted to talk about us going digital around the same time and why we went digital. I appreciate him labeling his last request as his last request.
No, I did that.
Oh.
Right. Well, instead of just bullet points, I wanted to make it more personal.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've done entire episodes on this. It's better. I have crazy anxiety, and drawn on paper stresses me the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't lasso something or double tap to undo, I lose my fucking mind.
Yeah. For me, I guess it makes sense because it makes sense. Sorry, David Kelly popping in here asking how the mouthfeel is. Identical. Pacifico and Bud Light, the mouthfeel is identical. Thanks, Dave. For me, I don't know if you're the same because you obviously have a wider fan base and you draw popular characters, but I wasn't selling original art anyway. So why was I trying to line up my scanner, erase my pencils, clean up my scans, hatching like an asshole, doing this 1,000 times instead of just doing click and hatching the whole background in one click or one button. Yeah. Filling in blacks. Like, I don't know if you've ever looked through like original art at a con, or if any of our listeners have. There's always the stack of like the 10 or 15 or $20 pages that are like no main characters on them. And most of those, the blacks aren't even filled in because they scanned them and then filled the blacks digitally. So you have like an unfinished original art page that, like, if someone wants to buy, then you got to take out your inkwell and like fill all that shit in that you didn't do in 2012.
Well, then it's more for it. The whole point of putting it out there for $15 is because you don't have to do that shit.
I guess, but yeah, like a lot of times on Family Tree, well, sometimes, not a lot of times, when we're coming up on a deadline crunch, the inker will leave it X, and I'll fill them in digitally. I'll fill the blacks in digitally, rather than him spending another, because that'll take like an hour or more, depending on what kind of page it is. You know, for Phil Hester, to ink a Phil Hester page and fill in all the black that's on a Family Tree page, you're just doing this. You're with a paintbrush, probably for like close to an hour, where I can just like click, 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 and it's done. But also I wanted to color more, and I was coloring on a bamboo tablet, and my hand-eye coordination, if anyone's ever seen me play darts, is not the best. Like, it's hard to draw on a tablet and look at a screen.
Oh, it's terrible.
So I was just like, and I wanted to ink digitally. So I was like, I was able to get this workhorse of a monitor, which 4 years in or 3.5 years in is perfect. There's no going back. It makes no sense unless I got hired to draw like a cable series or cable like covers. If I got hired to do covers on a popular character, even like the Phantom or something like that, I would do those traditionally because those have resale value. And I'm all about the dollar bills.
Yeah, I guess.
David chimes in with another thing saying he has a Hellboy drawing of me hanging above Garrett's Batman, where it fucking belongs in the hierarchy of characters, not necessarily artists, but in the hierarchy of characters, it should be above Garrett's Batman. Any other thoughts on why you went digital, other than it just makes totally sense?
It's better in every way.
Yeah, he also had a follow-up comment that I didn't paste into the questions, where he just said, like, because we went digital and talked about it, it let him go digital. Like, it made him feel comfortable going digital and stuff like that. So.
I think he's using the Samsung Galaxy Tab, I think, which runs the full version of Clip Studio, apparently. So cool. Yeah. I wonder how that's working out for him.
Yeah, he seemed to, last time I heard from him, he seemed to really like it. So JD, let us know. And all right, let's move on. Jamie Gamble, Hero Code writer and creator of Hero Code, which is a comic that I color that's available on Comixology. I gave him the nickname of Jamie's Gandolfini. Came in with a difficult question here, and he asked, what piece of work are we both proudest of? I'll go first here, because this is kind of a tough one. Because I always feel like whenever I don't know if you ever feel like this on social media, but whenever I'm like, I just colored the best page I've ever, the page I just worked on was my favorite page I've ever colored. It was so great. And then I feel like, oh, it's not a diss to every other page I've ever colored by every other artist, but it could be construed that way. So this is kind of a weird thing. Like, I don't like to say how much I love working on one thing over another. But also I have projects where page rates vary wildly. So, but for me, that's not what this is. It's something that you're proud of to be associated with, I suppose. But that's not to say I'm not proud to be associated with everything I work on. But for me, first thing that comes to mind is Family Tree, just because it's the first big coloring gig I've done, and it's for Image, which is a dream publisher since I was like, 13, 14, 15. And it's with Uncle Phil, who, Phil is one of those dudes. He's like, he's not blowing smoke up your ass when he's like, oh, we're going to work together someday, or you're on the list of guys I want to work with. Like, he legitimately put me up in front of, Jeff Lemire and the editor and said, hey, this is who I think would be good for color in this book. What do you think? The tryout pages I did essentially for Family Tree were coloring a short of his for Aftershock. So not only did he slide me into like a tryout gig for Family Tree, but I got paid for it. Like, it's like, he knows what's up. He knows what's up. And then I also have a soft spot for Doc Unknown, just because, I think I did like 13 issues that book. The Dark Horse hardcover is fucking beautiful. People love that book still. And it got me a wider recognition to more supportive fans like Russell McDowell. He knows me because of Doc Unknown. I just sold a page last week of a Doc Unknown page to a guy who's bought like 10 pages off me in the past. Got me out to Heroes Con. That book is what got me out to Heroes Con. That book got me out to Austin the first time I ever went to Austin, Texas. I'm drinking out of my whip-in glass right now. So it's like that book allowed me to travel, and it got like, Mike Mignola drew a pinup of us, of a character that I designed. Mike Mignola drew a fucking cover for it.
Badass.
Yeah, the writer got it, not me. That's garbage, but whatever. What about you? What are you proudest of comic book wise?
Yeah, obviously I'm proudest of Copperhead. Even though it's sort of in limbo. That's not even the right word. It's languishing.
Yeah, I didn't include them in the questions because I didn't want to make you feel bad, but I think we have like 5 sets of questions maybe, and 2 or 3 of them asked about Copperhead or commented on how much they miss Copperhead. So
it's fine. But I get it all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud of it. I mean, not a lot of people read that book, but the people who have been reading it really like it, which is nice. That was my favorite part about Young Justice, was the people who read the book. They really fucking cared about that shit. It was nice.
Yeah, that's kind of like going back to talking about Doc Unknown. It was a Kickstarter book, so it's not like thousands of people read it, but the people that read it, they talked about it online, they posted about it, they told their friends about it, they bought multiple. I would not guarantee. I would assume that most people who have the floppies that we made, because there's 3 trades, but there's also like 6 floppies, and then there's the overall hardcover that Dark Horse collected. And I would bet there's several fans, or a majority of fans, who have all the floppies that we kickstarted, all the trades that we kickstarted, and the Dark Horse. They have them in every collection because it's important to them. They know that it's like a grassroots thing. This is a great book. I like the creators. I like the character. I'll do whatever I can to support this character. So yeah, passionate fans. It's great that we live in a world where ideally, if you have several thousand passionate fans, you can have a career that sustains you as long as you have those loyal fans.
Yeah, that's true. We live in a I don't know what the word is. It's a post something world. I got way out ahead of that one before I had the thought. But everybody can do everything. So you don't need to submit your pitch to DC to get a comic book. You don't need to have your film distributed by Warner Brothers to make a movie. Everybody's got access to all the same stuff, and you could sidestep the entire traditional process of doing things. So if you want to make a comic, you just fucking make a comic. And it's sort of the wholesale approach when you go straight to the consumer.
Yeah, I like it because there's I'm a little old for all this, but there's a new generation of artists who come up who they might have a couple thousand Patreon backers. That's their whole job, that is to cater to their Patreon backers. And they might make a pretty good living at that, and that's awesome, because some days maybe they don't want to draw a comic page. Maybe someday they just want to draw like a fan image, but their Patreon packers, they want to see that. Like, they want to see that sort of thing. So you could do that day, and you're still interacting with your fans. You're still going to get paid at the end of the month. You're still kind of, you're not on a monthly grind. You know what I mean? Like these young artists who have these successful Patreons aren't putting out a 20-page book a month, but yet they're doing it. Like they're getting it done. It's great. I wish I was more talented and I was younger when this was all hitting. I started submitting, art samples when you had to make like the photocopies and staple them together and make sure your email address at like go.com or whatever the fuck at the bottom is like, legible. It's great if you have talent now. And for some people it's great even if they don't have talent. Some people can just work it, like, good for them. Make their money.
Yeah, the internet makes everything possible.
Right. This is a good one. I'm going to let you ask this one because I'm sure you have zero answers for this. So why don't you ask? Why don't you ask the next question?
Sure. Listener Andrew Turk, who I believe is sponsored a handful of episodes,
right?
Asks when we are finally going to have him on the podcast. Soon.
Sure.
Soon,
Yeah.
Andrew. I'm trying to think of things that would be sort of appropriate. I'm interested in talking about I don't know how interested I am in the legal aspect of cancel culture stuff, but I'm sure there's something there to be discussed. I don't know. We'll figure out something. I don't know.
Yeah, we could even have a fun thing, like if you had to defend, like you could do a thing like cancel culture, like an artist who puts in like anti-Semitic images in a comic. Like, hey man, Andrew, if you had to defend this guy, like what would be your defense? Why did he put this in this comic, or how would you spin it? I mean, my wife's a defense attorney. Andrew's not.
I mean, let us know like what kind of law you practice. Do you know off the top of your head what Andrew does?
I think he just does general kind of private practice attorney shit. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we're not going to get into it too much on the podcast, but him and my wife know each other because they're both attorneys in the state of Arizona. So when he heard, he didn't know. I don't know how to figure it out because my wife doesn't have the same last name as me. But I guess like one day she just texted me. She's like, "Do you know someone named Andrew Turk?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know Turk 182." And she's like, "Oh, so it's I'm working with him on a case or something like that." I was like, "Oh, how fucking weird is that?" So then I messaged him.
You know what we should do? We should have him on, and we'll all watch the opening courtroom scene from the 2004 Daredevil movie, and he can break it down.
Yeah. That's good. That is good. Yeah.
Don't they have? Isn't Joe Quesada on?
Is he one of the jurors?
Oh, is he? He's the bad guy, right?
I don't know.
Is he the rapist or something that gets set free, and then Daredevil hits him with a subway train?
I don't know. When I watch that movie, I just can't stop staring at a beautiful young Ben Affleck in his prime.
Let's watch that movie. I want to watch that movie now.
All right, episode 201.
We'll do
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm the same. You're right. I think Turk became I think he backed. So for episode 100, we had a Kickstarter. And so I think he backed the Kickstarter 100 episodes ago. And then I was like, well, what do you want? Like, if you're a sponsor, what do you want us to plug for you? And he's like, I don't know, nothing. And then like a couple months pass, and he's like, why don't we just hang out on the show? So Turk, we will hang out on the show again. It's up to you if you want to spin it into you want to spin it into a legal topic on like copyright or something, which might be boring. We can do that. But then also like having guests on remotely is something I still don't think we've 100% dialed in. Like a couple weeks ago, we had 2 people on with us, and it was like audio problems galore. So I think we really need to dial in how to have a guest on, because that's something I want to do over the next 1,000 episodes moving forward. I'd like to have more guests on.
Yeah, and that's generally a me problem. I mean,
well, last time there was
it's an adventure every time.
Every time. Tonight you didn't log on till right before. I thought we were going to do a whole brainstorming session, a rap session before the podcast. You chime in 2 minutes before. That's cool though, because you sound good, you look great. Shit, what are we going to do? All right. Jonathan Burgers, Postmaster General, says that he wanted to mention, first of all, he wants to mention some of his favorite TIG show moments. I appreciate John going deep for this. He loved the Scott Pilgrim commentary track episode, which was episode 102, where we just watched Scott Pilgrim versus the world. But I feel like it was only fun to like the 3 listeners who synced up the movie and watched it while they were listening to the, because otherwise there was like 3-4 minute stretches where we're just laughing at the movie and watching the movie.
Maybe we can do more of that stuff, but it can be like a Patreon exclusive or something.
Yeah, do something like, hey, we're gonna have a drink and pop in like the pilot of just Daredevil, or no, that's a podcast, is Daredevil. But like a drinking thing, like put in something, watch a pilot. It doesn't have to be a full hour. We could do, we could rip on like WandaVision, or maybe we make The Mandalorian season 3 a podcast or a Patreon exclusive. For the less than dozen Patreons we have, we'll put in that extra work for the 9 of you.
I'd do it.
But that was episode 102, where Scott and I watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Scott's favorite movie, or one of your favorite movies for that genre, or for what we were going for. We could watch Unforgiven, but then it would be 3 hours of silence, and then like, ooh, we do that every once in a while. Yeah, that's not a commentary. That's not a live commentary.
That's all it would be. It would just me saying, "Yeah, it's so good." That's so good.
You just be jerking off the whole time. So and then he mentioned that one episode. It was from our chat with Tyler Button, episode 98. Scott seeing that guy dressed as Batman in the parking garage. And then it reminded me not only of you seeing a dude dressed as Batman in a parking garage, but why the fuck did you record our episode with Tyler Button from your van in a parking garage?
I don't remember exactly why. I know there was a reason, but I can't remember it now.
I remember one thing. I remember it was
listen to the episode to find out.
Yeah, one thing I do remember was it was in the summer, and I made you had to turn the AC off on your van because it was too loud for the mic. So you were sitting in your van in a parking garage in Chandler, Arizona. And then you saw a guy dressed as Batman just randomly in a parking garage.
I don't know why. There's no comic shop around there. There's no movie theater. It was the lunch hour. I don't know.
What if there's a dude who works like in the city council building, Chandler Municipal Court building or whatever, and on his lunch break he just goes and dresses. That's his lunch break thing, is he goes and puts on his Batman costume and just does a lap or 2 around the parking garage.
Well, I mean, that would be the thing, right? I mean, if you're a prosecutor, because criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot.
Sore prosecutors. Oh, sorry, Andrew Turk. And then he also, John Burgers also said that he loved our live Comic-Con episodes. So episode 34 was just me and you at a Phoenix show. Episode 79 was with Dan Panosian at a Phoenix show. Episode 81 was with Declan Shalvey at Heroes Con. And episode 94 was with Phil Hester. That was a weird one because it was me and Phil with like a dual monitor setup because we Skyped in with you. So the people who showed up to Phil and I's panel actually saw you on a computer monitor from your house when we dialed you in. But I love those. Yeah, I love those episodes. They're so fun, and I feel like we were just dialing them in, and then COVID happened and stopped us from doing them.
Aside from Phil Hester, I was drunk for the rest of those, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, you were. That's in my notes. I love them because we get to just drink. Like I spent the whole morning of Declan Shalvey's. The day we're going to talk to Declan,
yeah.
I went out looking for liquor, and liquor laws in Charlotte are not the same as liquor laws in Arizona. I had a hard time.
We had to walk a long way.
Yeah, I had a hard time getting booze, but we did it. And then the Dan Panosian one, we were drinking airplane bottles of Bullet Rye.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think that you had too much to drink. And then we're walking back to our table afterwards. And I'm feeling pretty good because Dan was a great guest. He did all the talking. And then all of a sudden I think I was even talking, and I looked over because you weren't answering me. And I was like, what the hell? And you were like 15 feet behind me, like putting your hand on someone's table to like.
I don't know. I think I did the second half of the episode, like kind of resting my head on my hand.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was good though.
That was good.
I liked it.
Okie Striker chimes in here. My buddy Jeff, he said, I like the panel you had at the Tucson Comic-Con with a bunch of other artists. He might be misremembering. There was a panel at an Albuquerque show that I did called 2 Drinks Minimum, where they got us drunk. They gave us free shots and free beers. And then we just told stories, and it was me, Brett Peoples, Andy Kuhn, John McCrae. Shit, a lot of dudes. I mean, at one point there were like 7 of us up there one year, and they would just kept walking back and forth and giving us because I think one of the panelists wanted a Manhattan, and so they go back to the bartender at the back of the back of the panel room, and then come back up. And they're like, he doesn't have all the shit to make a Manhattan, and so the panelist was like, well, just give me a shot of whatever bourbon you got. And then so because that panelist said it, then like John McCrae next to me said it. And then then I said it. So then everyone on the dais or the stage, we all got double shots of like a bourbon, and then we all got like beer chasers, and it was great. Scott's having some issues. There you are. You're back. But yeah, I love that panel because basically they just get you sauced, and then the audience asks questions, and then it kind of goes off the rails. Like I'm sure if there were any editors in the room or publishers, like I can't remember which creator it was, and I wouldn't tell the story now, but someone was talking about like walking around the hotel lobby, like they left their clothes up on like the 3rd floor, and they like got locked out of the room, so they had to go down to the lobby to get a key for their room. So they're walking around the hotel lobby, like kind of like almost like a movie, like jumping between plants to like cover themselves and shit. It's like, and then at one point they said they were at a urinal next to an editor-in-chief of a company, but he's naked peeing in the urinal, and the editor-in-chief is, has clothes on because that's what you do in a civilized situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he tried to bring up a conversation about a character that he would like to work on. It's like, oh, it's great. So I think it was those Albuquerque shows. But yeah, as Jeff says here, that should be at every show. It should be at every show. And then Matt Goodall chimes in. The Phoenix Con show was fun, especially when the lady and her kids were confused that your podcast wasn't about Harry Potter. But the first one we did, episode 34, remember everyone came in and it was like they're supposed to be the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, remember when we started, there were like 100 and something people in the room. And then at some point, someone was like, this isn't the Guardians of the Galaxy panel. And I said, no, I think that's like next. And so like half the room left. And then people kept sticking their head in. And I think you're on mic saying, this is not the Guardians of the Galaxy panel. And then people would just like leave.
I have a vague memory of this.
Yeah. And then Burgers chimes in here on YouTube. I brought my then 4-year-old to the Panosian one. Probably not the best idea, but it was fun. Yeah, those are good. Dan's a great guest. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. And then he asks, so he asked about Copperhead, but I cut it out because I didn't want to make you feel bad. Again, it's something I'm sure you'll get back to at some point.
Yeah, I got 2 left to write, 3 left to draw, and it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah, it's just difficult. I think I think people have to understand, like, you got to keep up with. If an editor at DC offers you a Superman family book or a Batman family book, you can't be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take 4 months off from my slowly burgeoning career at DC to go back to something else. But I'll be sure to call me in 3 months. You gotta stay. You almost got to say yes to everything because you're afraid the one time you play your hand might be the last phone call you get from a Burbank number. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. Yeah, I would agree. I tell people that keeping your foot in the door is harder than getting your foot in the door.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody finds that true, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've told this story before, but for new listeners or people that weren't around, I mean, I thought it would be all gravy. I mean, my first book, I got the second publisher we pitched it to, picked it up back in 96, or not 96, 06, published it. It got optioned. That book Villains, I made more money off Villains than I've made off. That is true that if you have a semi-popular book at an independent publisher and you own the property, you don't need to be selling 60,000 copies a month of like Nightwing or whatever, you know? So this is proof positive that I think when the trade was printed for Villains, they printed 2,000 trades and like 700 were ordered by comic shops. But that trade got us optioned and I made like 25 grand over the course of like 4 years off that book. But it's never been that easy. Like the money train is not rolled in that easy.
It's like going to the Super Bowl your rookie year.
Yeah.
Just figure, every season's going to be like this.
Yeah. And then, so John asked about Copperhead. You just answered that. He then just clicks in and says, sports. But John did say, thanks for answering that question, Scott. It does make a lot of sense. He's glad to hear Copperhead's not totally dead.
Russell
McDowell also brought up Copperhead. So, and then, the last question John asked here is, Ryan, now that you're primarily doing color work, is there any particular artist or artists that you especially like to color? Obviously Scott. And then I threw down like Becky Cloonan, Declan, Ryan Otley, Mike Oming, dudes who don't do a lot of weird hatching and shit. Like, I love Top Cow Comics, you know, like I love Mark Silvestri, but I don't know if I'd want to color like a Mark Silvestri comic because there's so much shit going on. Like, I think I do better when I'm not in the way. And I think these artists lend themselves to colorists not getting in the way or not trying to overdo it. Like my favorite colorist right now is probably Marte Gracia, but I could never color like he colors because it's just, he does shit I could never figure out. You know, like I'm more of like, my favorite colorists are the kind of colorists I look at and I'm like, oh, I kind of get how they did this. I think I can incorporate that. And I like that style. Whereas I look at his work on like X-Men books or Sword or something like that. And I'm like, I don't even know how the fuck he did this. It looks fantastic, but I couldn't even begin to like dissect how he got to this, this final page. So yeah, guys like that, Oming, Otley, obviously the gorgeous and beautiful Corey Walker, my favorite, Chris Samney. Yeah, my two favorite artists of the last, I don't know, while, but they got Matthew Wilson. What do they need a Ryan Cody for when you got a Matthew Wilson? Yeah, thanks, John. Me and Becky would be great. I appreciate that. Becky, I think, gets her pick of the litter when it comes to colorists. That's kind of it of the questions we had. Scott, did you have any other questions? I guess I had a kind of a thought or a question of, okay. Is there anything you want to, for the pod, is there anything that you think we should be doing more of, leaning in a direction? Is there some way you want to steer the podcast, something you want to see more of on the pod, or we should do more of? Like I mentioned earlier, I would like to have more guests. I just assume nobody wants to be on it, but there's got to be some people that want to be on it. You know, we should have a total. We should have a total
one person that wants to be on it.
Well, Andrew Turk. So, but we could also get like we really should do we should have a writer on, and then the next week we should have a letterer on, and the week after that we should have an editor on, and then have a real colorist on. You know,
Sure.
We've teased having Rico on the show and drinking milkshakes. We could do that one week. You know, but yeah, I would like. Yeah, I would like to do something like that because after 200 episodes, I think we've exhausted. We're going to start revisiting topics unless we just watch TV shows and bitch about them.
I mean, we still haven't had a beer person on for like half of our shtick is drinking. So
should have a sommelier on.
That would be neat.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. No, I don't have anything in particular.
The last year has been a little weird. I would like to, because in a couple months I'm going to be in Phoenix more than I'm going to be in Flagstaff. So once the world rights itself as much as possible, I'd like to get back to, maybe 1 or 2 a month in person. We have an outstanding invitation to go to the Santan distillery and talk to I don't know what they're called, people who make spirits. They're distillers. Yeah, distiller. Yeah, we could go to the tasting room and talk to a distiller. Distiller. Yeah. Or his dad, R.I.P. Can't really talk to him anymore, I don't think.
Not without a Ouija board.
Or a medium. Maybe we should have a medium on the show.
That'd be fun.
That would be fun. I'd have a hard time not being disrespectful.
We should do a seance where we try to talk to Jack Kirby.
Yeah, that's a pilgrimage I still want to take. I haven't been out to Thousand Oaks Cemetery or Sherman Oaks, wherever he's buried.
Why the fuck would you want to do that?
Why not? People do it. They go there and they leave pencils there and they leave like shit there. It's great. I don't believe in any of that shit, but it's still
believe in neat. What?
Like that.
I don't understand.
I don't believe that it means anything. Like Jack Kirby's not going to know that I'm standing on him as I look at his gravestone. Like he's not going to know that. But it would still be neat for me. And then, I get to go. I get to go to California, write it off, go to some breweries. Whole thing's a tax exemption. Come on, man, get with the program.
I don't understand. This makes no sense to me. Sorry. Why would you want to go to Jack Kirby's grave?
Because he started all this. Dead. Yeah, I know that.
No, I thought that's what you were going to say because he's dead.
Oh. Yeah, well, he's probably it's like talking to you once a week. It's like dead.
I'm dead.
Yeah, inside.
No, that's stupid. Don't do that.
He's just dead outside. That's really that, and the number of pages produced are the biggest differences between you guys.
I think he still averages more per year than I do.
Right, and he's in his grave right now, being like, "Fuck digital." These kids these days.
Yeah, he's been dead for almost 30 years. And I think his lifetime average is still higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess I would just like to have more guests on because in the 200 episodes, we probably only had like 15 with guests. And it's something we can do. It's just, as the person who has to edit it together, I feel like it's a pain in the ass when there's a third person on there.
Yeah, I mean, we've had artists. We had the editor on last episode, Thomas Healy. A letterer, colorist, I guess, just to round things out.
Yeah, well, I mean, as much as I bitch about, it's hard to get work and it's hard to convince people that you're worthwhile to hire over another guy. Because I think colorists still, unless you're in that top echelon of colorists, it's hard to convince editors and publishers like, oh, I would be good on this book if you just gave me a shot, because I think they feel like it's just a job that gets done. Like coloring and lettering is just a job that gets done. One's not any different than the other. And so it'd be interesting to hear from a letterer because I imagine they get it more than I get it. I think colorists have now been leveled up a little bit to where our look influences a book. Like Family Tree There's a lot of people who could color that book, but it probably wouldn't look like how I color the book.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
you
I
know,
guess that's the step in the process that I'm not privy to. Is the letter isn't looped in on the emails for the book, and so I would be curious to know what kind of notes or how many notes a letterer gets on a book, how many
yeah,
passes they have to do.
yeah, like I because Family Tree is such a organic kind of book, everyone's on the thread. So I think I've talked about this before, but the letterer has as much input into every process. You know, if the inker puts up an inked page, the letterer chimes in, I'll chime in. You know, everyone has an opinion, and we all work together, especially on covers. We all work together because he's also the designer of the book, Steve Wands. And but yeah, I know that color or letterers nowadays, they letter the book, and then the editor or writer does another pass, and then they have to re-letter the book in a lot of cases or fix a lot of edits. And I'm like, that would be like asking someone, that'd be like asking the line artist after the whole book is done and it's a day before print to be like, okay, that's cool, but let's zoom in on this and let's tweak this and let's, like it's not
Yeah,
quite it's not quite the same because it's all it's all in an Illustrator and they can but it's still they're still
right.
doing the same work more than once for probably the same rate.
Yeah, I do feel like the faster the process is in whatever step you're doing it, like I'll get some notes when I turn in pencils. I might get over the course of I'll turn in 5 pages and I might get a note on one or two, and I see the notes on the colors, and it's maybe a notes about a character throughout the whole issue. So that's going to be a change on nearly every page. So I feels like the less time it takes to complete that step of production, the greater the volume of
Right.
sort of handling of it. So I
Yeah.
don't see the letterer stuff, but I can imagine that there's notes on almost every fucking word balloon.
Right, because they assume it's like a super quick fix and it's fine. But it would be great to talk. It'd be great to talk to a like disgruntled letterer who quit comics and is now doing something else. Because yes, they get the lowest page rate of the group, and they're always making changes to the very last minute. Like when we're on deadline for our book, I look at my deadline as being like the end of business on the Monday, and I'm the dick. But that's just how it works out sometimes. And then the letterer has to letter overnight, make changes and whatever to get it uploaded by the next morning. His deadline's not till Tuesday at start of business hours or whatever, whereas my deadline is end of business on Monday. And it's just, yeah, that's exactly right. The penciler takes the most time, which probably is right because it takes a long time. Then the inker gets less time. He has to cram it. Then the colorist gets less time, but then the letterer just gets fucked. Like, I can't imagine they do less than a book a day, and it's probably the day before the book's off to publish, off to print.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's more willingness to sort of give notes and ask for this or that because most of the process now is digital. So even in line art, it's not as big a deal to move this thing or take out
Yeah.
that thing. So
Um,
I don't mind.
yeah, let me ask a question about that. Do you, if you do have a project where you're doing like grayscale on, or even if you're not doing it, even if you don't think of it as grayscale, like some of the explosion work you do and smoke work you do, the black kind of trails off. It's not a solid black. It might be a little fainter. Do you do that on different layers? So if the colorist or somebody hates it, it's just easy to fix? Or do you send a flattened TIFF to the colorist?
I will send a Photoshop doc if
Oh, okay.
if I know, like, if I think something should be separated out, then it definitely should be.
Hmm.
Because I don't know dick about that stuff.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but sometimes I'll turn in a page and Gabe will be like, "Yo, can you send this particular piece on a separate layer?" Like, I guess like illuminated stuff, like fire or an explosion or something. I'm gonna color white, right? Just on a black and white page. That's just gonna be white. But he prefers that it's a separate layer on top of black because I guess it pops better when it's got the black layer
Yeah.
underneath it.
And it's easier
So
to select just the white lines rather than.
yeah, but just stuff like that. I think in House of L, I did all of Blue Lantern's construct stuff on a separate layer, just so it's easier.
Yeah, that's very helpful for a colorist to have those effects on different layers.
Yeah,
Especially,
if
yeah.
I know, if I think in my brain, then it would be better to do that. Then I'll
Right.
definitely do that because, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone working digitally, if they think something is going to be on like a like a color hold. So for listeners who don't know what a color hold is, when you're reading a comic, everything like the characters are black and solid black line work or whatever. But a color hold is there's no black outline on it. It's just a color.
Yeah.
It's easier to have those effects on a different layer because you can color hold just that effect. Whereas if it's all flattened, then you have to go in and manually almost like the digital version of like selecting it with like an X-Acto knife and then putting your color hold on it. So yeah, I'm not a fan of. I think you and I have talked about it. I'm not a huge fan of like grayscale work on a black and white book that you're going to have a colorist.
Yeah,
Or have a colorist color.
Talking to somebody about.
Yeah, I appreciate it when they throw that shit on a separate layer because I'm not. It's not like I'm not going to delete it because it's part of their line art. But it's easier to maybe put shit under it between like the line art and the halftone pattern or something like that. Or halftone pattern looks cool when you can tweak it and put a color hold on that. So, but yeah, I'm not against it. Whatever. I mean, my job is to do whatever the colorist wants to do or whatever the line artist wants. I'll make it happen, especially if I'm getting paid. All right. So I guess I should talk about these beers. I finished one, the whip-in glass, my Moab Brewery FMU double IPA. My parents got me the glass, but not the beer. But it's fuck me up double IPA. I want to go to Moab Brewery and try that DEPA. But I'm going with whatever is in the whip-in glass, which is number B. I think this is Pacifico. And
Wow.
what I noticed was, again, as this stupid challenge went on, and in the future, if I have an idea and no one else thinks it's a good idea, maybe I shouldn't do it. Tell myself that. This had a flavor to it. This had something going on, whereas this just tastes like water. And there's times for this. I assume this is Bud Light. We'll find out. There's times for this. But if I'm not going to be slamming 12 beers and I'm going to be only having like 6, let's be generous, I want something that has a little bit of a flavor to it. Oh, Dave Kelly chiming in. He should have sent down some Rainier or Olympia. Rainier is my favorite. And maybe, again, I talked about this with Lone Star. I love it because when I'm in Texas, I drink Lone Star. I had a magical couple weeks in Seattle one time, just chugging Rainier beer. I don't love Olympia as much, but Rainier, next time I'm in the Pacific Northwest, I'm going to buy like pallets of that shit. It's great. All right. So the winner is of the Triple B blind beer. I didn't line up a drum roll sound. Pacifico wins the tournament.
Look at that.
Bud Light comes in second.
Number 12 seed.
12 seed. And the last edition, Pacifico slid in because I couldn't find Lone Star. It was not originally part of the. Wasn't part of the field.
You just got to get in, and then anything can happen.
That's right. You slip it in there, and then magic happens. Lone Star got COVID. They couldn't make the tournament. Next up was Pacifico. And look what they did. From 1900, from being brewed by three Mexicans.
By German to German.
Yeah, they're German the German and his Mexican friends who claimed to be German in Mazatlan in 1900. 121 years later, you finally did it, guys. Congratulations. You know, they're just be good for them. I'm going to give them another shout out because they haven't gotten much respect. But shout out to Jorge.
Won the shit beer bracket on the 200th episode of
the
Illustrious Gentlemen podcast.
Yeah,
and it's guys,
and it's a little asterisk-y because Pacifico is not cheap. So no beers are cheap nowadays unless we're getting into some Rainier. But Pacifico is considerably more expensive than any other beer on the list. So, but it's great. So you know what? Shout out to Jorge, Herman, and Emilio. You guys really knew what you were doing on that beach 121 years ago. And it's going to make everyone happy because I think my wife told me it can't be a Bud product. I said, why not? There's a reason Bud Light's the number one beer in the world, or at least in America. It's not bad. Scott, what would have been your did you think it would go this way? As someone who's followed deeply the tournament, did you think it would go this way? Did you think a Budweiser or Miller product would win? Or did you think a dark horse would take it?
The smart money is never on the 12 seed. But if you had an extra 5 spot laying around, that's what you do. You throw it at the lowest seed.
That's right. $5 you never want to see again. Yeah. So basically, I wrote this last note on the beer bracket thing before I had either one of these. Is given my choice, I'll have a Hamm's, a Lone Star, or an Old Style over any other beer in this field, just because they're not college beers. To me they're kind of like, I don't want to say hipster beers. They're like I don't know. I'd rather be in the Midwest and drink a Hamm's or an Old Style than be in Arizona and drink a Bud Light. Like they got character. They got moxie. Spunk. I know you like the word spunk. They got spunk.
Yeah. I guess we don't have a regional.
There used to be A1. Yeah, back in like the 60s, there used to be A1, which is an Arizona beer that was brewed in Arizona. Yeah. I have some friends that are older than me who remember it when they were like kids, but it hasn't been brewed in Arizona in like 30 years. Matt Goodall says Natty Daddy was robbed. I will say to Matthew, I am shocked at how much I enjoyed Natural Light. It is so. If Bud Light is water, Natural Light is like a cloud. It's like drinking a cloud. Like it's not even there. You could have 30 of those and do complex math, drive your kids to the soccer game. No one's going to know. You get pulled over by a cop. You've been drinking today? Well, I've had 40 Natty Lights, but nothing. I haven't been drinking, and he'll be like, yeah, I get it, man.
Yeah. When my dog was younger, I took her to a one of those training classes or whatever inside of PetSmart or whatever the fuck, and there was this there was a hillbilly dude with a shitty dog, and his dog's name was Natty. Yeah, so that's what I think of when I think of Natty Ice.
Have you ever had? Well, we're not drinking Natty Ice. We're talking about Natty Light.
Well, I understand the Natty family,
right? The Natty family of beers. Did you ever drink a Natty Light? Like knowingly, not after like 5 other beers.
I don't think I have. No,
give it a shot, man. Especially when you're out there like mowing the lawn or doing push-ups, like you're getting ready to go to CrossFit. Yeah, you're going ready to go to CrossFit, and you want a beer. Yeah. Shout out to Dave Kelly. Pacifico was the first beer to grace his mouth. I don't like how you worded that, David, but you did create Ally McBeal, so I guess you can. You are a wordsmith. You know how to turn a phrase.
Yeah. We could talk to him about the Wonder Woman pilot.
Oh,
I'm
with
sure he gets that shit all the time. I'm sorry.
with comic book writer Eric. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Pilecki. Pilecki. His sister was Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
She was also in Agents of
Adrian.
S.H.I.E.L.D. She was Mockingbird in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember her from Legion.
She was in Legion?
Yeah.
I only watched the first season. It was too much for me.
No, the movie.
Oh, the Will Smith movie.
No. No.
Oh, that's
No,
I Am
the one where
Legend.
Paul Bettany's an angel.
Oh, so Vision is
What's his
Archangel.
fucking face? Meg Ryan's husband. What's his name?
Dennis Quaid?
Dennis Quaid's the cook. Yeah, at the diner.
So Vision is Archangel, and Mockingbird is also in it as another character.
Yes. I think she's pregnant with
the Antichrist.
I think it's the second coming of Christ or something. I don't remember. It was a shit movie.
Yeah,
it was not written by David E. Kelly, I don't think.
Yeah, we should have David Kelly.
Didn't have Lucy Liu in it.
We should, if he's still listening, let me ask David Kelly if he's still watching. If you joined the SAG Writers Guild, or if you joined Screenwriters Writers Guild, sorry, if you joined a guild, writer or screen actor or whatever, you couldn't be. You'd have to be David something Kelly. You can't just be David Kelly, because obviously there's already a David Kelly, because it would be David E. Kelly. So we need to know what David Kelly, show listener. We don't need to. Matt Goodall chimes in that Legion was something. It was something. I mean, they made it. I don't think I've ever seen it. It's one of those things that
I'm not sure that it was.
David W. Kelly. Great job, man. Book a screenplay. Legion is that movie that just shows up all the time on like the Netflix scroll and be like, pass.
Oh, with I, Frankenstein and the fourth Underworld movie. Yeah.
Well, no, all those Underworld movies are watchable. There's a reason. Yeah.
Scott Speedman.
All right. David Kelly's gonna Highlander David E. Kelly and take his powers to write a legal drama that I don't think I ever saw one episode of. Wasn't there a?
I never saw Highlander.
Oh, you understand the reference though. Yeah. Wasn't there like a dancing, like imaginary baby?
Yes, that's the dancing baby.
I think of that in the
meme thing. Originally.
I think of that in the same way I think of the paperclip Microsoft Word helper. Just pops up and is like, "Do you need me? Like nobody needs you."
Yeah.
Like clip.
Yeah, I don't remember. It sounds like a Norm Macdonald thing. So when I think of Ally McBeal, I think of it's like more like Ally McMeal. Somebody get her a sandwich. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the phrase I use more often than not when my wife and I are watching a TV show. And there's like, kind of an attractive female lead. Like easily like after like episode 2, I'll just be like, God, I wish she would just eat more. Like, I just wish she just have a cheeseburger, young lady. And with that, I think we should end episode 200. Great questions. Thanks to every. Why? Because I want girls to eat cheeseburgers. I'm sorry, women should eat whatever they feel comfortable eating to be comfortable in their own skin. Thanks to everyone who posted a question. Again, Pacifico is the big winner. Thanks to those of you who watched along and commented. Scott, to 200 more, buddy. Send us out of here.
Yeah, great. Proud of you. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Scott.